Right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out of Nowhere. It's a brand new show. We've been going about 5 or 6 months now, I think, since I started my new show on StreamYard and on YouTube Live. My special guest today is Misha Johnson. Misha is a speaker, author, certified hypnotherapist, ET experiencer in multidimensional regression, past life, parallel life regression, and trauma recovery. Hypnosis, she offers galactic, multi-dimensional sessions and is a trans channel who speaks many galactic languages. In 1990, she founded the Star Family Contactee Support Group. In 1991, she started the first support group for teens, children, and their parents in the United States. Can we please welcome Misha to the show? Hello there.
Hello, how are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing great.
Good,
We just
good.
briefly spoke before the show. It's nearly 3 years since you were last on the show.
hmm
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Okay. Well, a, a lot about myself is I'm a lifelong experiencer. I a third generational, a second generational ET experiencer, third generational MK Ultra. Um, my I have many different types of ET contacts. Um, it, everything from grays to the tall whites to what I call a willowy one, which is like a tall white but hairless. Um, reptilians, draconians, um, lots of hybrids, and so that's my whole entire life. I've had these experiences, and then also I'm born into an MK Ultra family. So for that reason, having both the negative MK Ultra and having ET experiences that were some very positive, some were not, but most of my ET experiences were positive. I really feel, um, you know, confused. I was very, very confused, and I had no idea how to help myself. Finally, in '89, I started trying to I seen a therapist to help me get through it. And a few things came out from this therapist, and I went to another therapist, and mostly what came out was in their mind was child incest. Let's say it was incest, but it was far beyond incest. It was the MK Ultra program. Finally, I did find a therapist right about, well, it was actually 82 is when I started looking, and 89 is where I found my therapist. And she was open to doing hypnosis. She wanted to do hypnosis, and so we did, and I started finding out the answers then. Um, and since then, after I was able to work through some of that, I've had many, many other hypnotherapists, and I found my answers, integrated my altars, and decided to go on with my mission, which everybody's here and on this planet when they're awake, they're here for a mission. They have some kind of a mission that they need to do. So, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah,
Okay,
wonderful. Yeah, I can hear you.
okay, all right. And so I needed to get on with my mission, and my mission was to help other people find their answers, help other people not have to spend those 40 years, 30 years alone and trying to figure it out like I did. And so I started support groups back in 1990, as you said in my interview. Uh, in 1990, I started the groups in 1991, 92. I started the teen group. And then in late 1992, I just, the families were experiencers, the kids were ET experiencers. So I started an ET children's group with their parents. So, kind of taking care of the whole family. We had men's groups, women's groups, reptilian support groups, all kinds of groups that I would have. And this was always in my house. So in 1999, I moved to California to start a different kind of thing. And in California, everything hit the fan. I was closer to the powers that be, the CIA, and the different organizations there. And I ended up having a lot of attacks and, um, you know, targeting and things like that. Um, so I did get through that, and there's several experiences that I could go into. Well, you know what? Let me go into one that happened there, if that's all right. I'd already had some experiences with different other ATs and my lab. So my lab was military laboratory abduction. Um, so uh, you know what? I'm going to let you ask me the question. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up giving you a little roundup of what has happened. I decided not to go ahead and share. All of that is in my book. If people really want to get a detailed story of it, I might give a little bit more later, unless you want me to go ahead with that
No, that's
particular.
fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Um, when you talk about your family and everything, has anyone else in your family had contact then?
hmm Actually, both my sons were experiencers. I've had grandkids that are experiencers. So it goes on in generation after generation and generation. Both my sons had a lot of experience. One had also my lab, military reabduction, with me. So that was really icky to see that. I was in an elevator going down. Like I went to bed, woke up, I'm in an elevator, very groggy. I cannot move my head. I can only move my eyes and look with my eyes. Standing in front of me is a man in a military fatigues, and he's holding a gun. Now he himself is just staring out like
Right.
he's a zombie himself. But uh, next to me is a woman and a man on each side of me, and I can hear other people. Now these people, the woman's in her pajamas and the guy's in, um, I guess I can't tell you for sure, but his shirt's off. So I end up, just waiting, and then the elevator stopped. The doors open, and we started being pushed from behind. And at the same time, this soldier just kind of to attention and wakes up and starts moving us and pushing us out. And once out, they put the group, it was a lot of people, and they put us into two groups. One going the way I was going, which was people in uniforms and lab coats, and another way the others were going were aliens that looked tall, beige, gray. They're not gray. They look like grays, but they were beige looking, and they were much taller, probably 6 foot tall. Most grays are much more shorter. And when I was able to look with my eyes, I saw that my 14-year-old son was being taken off to that group.
Oh,
So that's just one of the examples of the many times that he and I were abducted together. So uh, I needed to find out that I had some hypnosis done with my sons to find out more about their information too, because I did find it was a wonderful tool to get into the deep, deep subconscious where all of the messages, all the memories, everything lie. Because, our DNA holds everything we've experienced and, for thousands of years and all of our lives and everything. So if you can get into the subconscious and to the higher consciousness, you can get those answers about what your lives were, your own childhood, everything. So I found it to be a wonderful tool. And that's why I myself ended up becoming a hypnotherapist, because I felt that was a wonderful way to help people uh,
mm,
get their answers. So,
good days.
I did. And
You
so I
know,
go
have you
ahead.
ever, I'm going to say, have you ever had group abductions?
Oh, I've had a couple of them. First one was my family. So when I was about 11 or 12 years old, my family were on a vacation, and um, my mother looked out the window and said, "For the love of Pete, Roger, we're driving." And she's, "What is that?" And we all looked, and it was a flying saucer that was traveling quite close to us and next to us. Um, Probably if you put your finger up, it was about the size of a thumb, so it was pretty close. And it stayed with us for a while, and then it just shot out into space. Later on, this is long before there were freeways. So we were going up this mountain hill, and one by one, we all fell asleep. And the next thing any of us knew is my father was yelling, screaming. We were at the, on the other side of the mountain, on the bottom of the mountain, on the hill, coming down the hill. And the car came, he screeched to a halt and said, "I don't know what happened. I I don't even know how I got here. There's no way I drove. I just woke up. I don't know." And so we really didn't know other than that and that. Well, in a hypnosis, I found out indeed our whole family had been taken. They even lifted our car up and took our car. And whether they put our car in the UFO, I don't know, but they did lift it up and put it down on the other side. So I kind of think maybe they were helping us a little bit, saving us too. But in the hypnosis, I also saw my brother next to me on a table as well as myself, and so that was one. And then another one was a my lab abduction in 2017. That was at a conference, and large group of us, like 11 or 12 people, were taken out of our rooms in the middle of the night, taken downstairs to the back of this big casino and hotel, and were taken to the loading dock, and one by one were taken and either put on one um, rider truck or put on another rider truck. And so we all remembered that. Not all of us. Some of us took us a little bit longer to remember it and some hypnosis, but we got pieces of it the next day. And then one by one, we talked to each other and found out that indeed we had been abducted in a My Lab situation. And my memory of what it was, I was in a rider truck, or what I was being taken across this kind of a little uh, bridge type of thing to a rider truck, and seen a what looked like a dentist chair, and was put out. I was out then, and then I woke up to military around me, and I said, "I can't be here," and they said, "Oh, don't worry, we're just giving you your yearly checkup." So
Ah,
those are the two. Oh, I've had a couple more, but those are the two main ones.
right. There's a quick question from Mason here. I'll just put it
Okay.
up here. Good evening, Misha. Have you been harmed, and has your son been harmed by any aliens or anybody?
Um, Harmed. I've been, um, okay. Let's say they did their best to get me when I was in California in 2000, 1999 to 2000. So I was in uh, three automobile accidents. One was an accident that ended up because in the accident I had my purse was left in the car, and ended up somebody broke into my purse, and it's a long story. It's in my book too, but it was a purposeful thing that was done. That they broke into my car, took my identification, and I had so much problems with my identity theft. Um, Consequently, I mean, they did find, there was a witness, so they did find the person who did it, and supposedly he was a drug addict, and he said he had to do it. He had to get the money, and so he sold my IDs and things like that. So that was one accident, and and that was with Melinda Leslie. The second accident was just maybe a month or two after that. In between that, I'd had many threats, and I had this accident where I was, well, I should say it was after a final group abduction where Melinda Leslie and I were taken to an underground base and both had encounters with a draconian. So it was after that experience, I was headed home to tell my kids I'm done. And I was ran off the road going 70 miles an hour. Unfortunately, I handled the car and was able to come to a pretty soft landing and hitting a Joshua tree. So that was one experience. I had eyewitness accounts. The truck drivers came and stopped and helped me, um, and so then my car was drivable because all they had to do, the policeman and my sons, because my sons came to help me, was pull
Yeah.
off the front, the bumper, and then I was able to drive. So I went ahead and went to the family and told them everything. I said I was quitting. I went back to San Diego, was when I was living at the time. I went back to San Diego and turned in my car, got a rental, and was going across town and was hit broadside by a man who ran a light and spun me around a couple of times. And then he was definitely military and proceeded to try to, tell me that this is your fault, basically, so to shut up. So
Oh
I
God.
did, and I quit. I quit for 9 years, actually,
Oh
everything.
my God. 9 years.
And so um, since then, in 2010, I came back home to Vegas and I started my group online in with different modalities. Now I'm on Zoom and I have 3 groups a week. That is really my mission here, is to help people find out their answers and understand. But I've written three books. Two of the books, just before I went into publishing, I was attacked and put into the hospital. Once for 10 days, which I had a near death experience, and the other one for 5 days. So, yeah, I've been attacked and harmed.
Um, what are the different types of beings you have been in contact with? Um, how do they graze? How do the greys differ?
I didn't quite understand that. I'm so sorry.
What are the different types of beings
Oh,
you have been in contact with, and
uh-huh.
how do the greys differ?
On how to the grays differ. Okay, well, I've met a couple, actually three different types of grays, what you would call grays. As a child, there were 3 grays that would come with the willowy one, the tall white type being without hair. He looked like a tall white. He had more human features, a little pointed chin. His eyes were bigger than ours, and they were not like the Greys. The Greys' eyes, they were much shorter. They're like 3.5 feet tall. They were much bigger eyes. So, so in fact, when I was 3 and 4 years old, I would see them come to the window. 3 little Greys would come to my window, and I saw them, and they to me looked like baby deers in my mind. That was the screen memory they were putting in,
Right.
the baby deers, and I'd say, "Well, it's time to go. The baby deers are here." So that was that, and they were not negative. They were just part of the crew that was with the Willy one. Um, and in fact, I do believe that they were preparing me for the hybrid program, which I became a large part of a hybrid program. And then I had, well, actually, I should say before that, I had a very unusual group. I lived in Idaho at the time, and so I really thought I thought they were something else. But when I was uh, about 3 years old, I heard a noise. I was sleeping with my sister um, in one room, and she and I would both hear it. And when we hear this noise, it sounded like a very loud, squeaky mouse, is what it sounded like, and but like a mouse that was muttering or something. So to me, I was 3. I wasn't afraid of anything.
Right.
She was, and so she'd always pull the blankets over our heads, until we could go to sleep. But this one time, she'd gone to school, and I'd heard it. I'd heard her get it, and it was, now it was early morning, so it was daylight. And so I heard it, and I followed the sound. And when I found it, it was underneath my staircase, and there was 3 of them, and I saw these little sparkly eyes, and as I got closer, I saw cloaks with fur all over their face. They had fur all over their face, and then they were wearing these cloaks. And when I saw Star Wars, when I grew up and saw Star Wars, I'm telling you, the closest thing to them were the Ewoks. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not the only one that has that happen. Other people I've run into now have had experiences what appears to be the Ewoks. So that is another type. And then I had an experience with one that looked kind of like a gray, but he looked different than the other ones I'd seen. And I said, can I touch you? And he said, yes. And when I did, he had scaly skin, like a lizard.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Looked like a gray, but he had kind of greenish blue skin, and it kind of had a lizard feeling to it. And that I called him Alligator Man, is what I called him as I was young. And then as I grew up, as I had a lot more encounters with the tall white one. Like I said, I call it willowy one because when it walked, it didn't look like it had any bones, and it would just kind of float along, and floated above the ground actually. Um, then I had some my lab experiences where actually my son woke up, the same one that was abducted, and he woke up and he saw me in the hall with a being on each side of me floating down the hall. And those grays, the way he described them, were little dark gray ones. They were darker gray than anything I had ever seen. In fact, they did ask them in the while it was happening. I was semi-conscious, and I went through the window that was closed, and I said to them, "How did I go through a window?" And they said, "Well, we took you through a time when there was no window there." So I see that they were time travelers. Right after I came back from that experience, both my son and I were re-abducted into by what I would call a dark grays that re-abducted us and took us to a deep underground military base. So along with that, I had many other abductions with uh, either a reptilian or reptoid, I'd say more like reptoid, and grays, and taken to underground bases. And at
Yeah.
underground bases, I've seen reptoids. I've seen something that looks a little bit more like a raptor, and it was small. It was about 5 feet, 5.5 maybe feet tall, but it had a raptor kind of nose. And then I saw a draconian, which is very much more than any kind of reptoid. Usually, I mean, he had his tufts, which I think were used to be wings. He had a tail, where the other ones didn't have a tail. So I guess that kind of takes them in. And then, of course, I've had my contacts with my Pleiadians and
Yeah.
my Ayano.
There's got a question from Rebecca here. Hi, Amisha. Thank you for your time tonight. Were any of the feelings and thoughts, etc., similar during your near death experience and abductions? Thank you.
Well, actually, they were. During my near-death experience, I had been stricken with pancreatitis. Exactly what I first thought it was a heart attack. It was a microwave weaponry that was shot at me. And it first felt like it was a heart attack. And then after I was taken to the hospital, um, uh, I they said it was my pancreas levels were high. So they figured it was my gallbladder or my pancreas. Well, they ruled out my gallbladder, and they really couldn't find anything in the MRI with the pancreas, but I had high levels of the types of things that would cause pancreatitis. So they had given me morphine, which was not working. The pain was more worse than childbirth, and it went on for 9 days. And on the ninth night, before I went to sleep, said a prayer that God, if you're ready to take me home, I'm ready to go because this is, I can't take this pain anymore. And I was woke up that with, I was in a, not in the hospital room. I could see two beings next to me who at first I thought are angels, but then I realized no, I don't think these are angels. I think these are galactics, or at least they're the highest vibration of galactics, and maybe they are angels. And then in the distance was family, and it was kind of like they were in the distance and they were dark. And again, I'm supposed to be in a hospital room, but I'm in this huge area.
Right.
I asked them, I said, you come to take me home? And they said, oh, no, beloved, you have much to do. You're not ready to go. And then that was it. I was out. And then I was awakened by a woman a nurse who's taking my vitals because I was in ICU. And she takes my vitals. And I said, well, I sure didn't want to say ETs or galactic. So I said, the angels came last night and I'm going to live. And she says, God is good. And then she left. And then within 15 minutes, here comes another nurse and she's going to take my vitals again. And I said, oh, no, I don't need my vitals taken because the last nurse just took them. She's, oh, no, that's been hours. And I says, oh, no, no, it was just a few minutes ago, but she wasn't you. She was another nurse. And she said, I'm the only nurse you have. So
Oh,
they came to me twice. So I'd say, well, I believe they were galactics or angels, or are they the same? Now,
all right.
I hope that answered her question.
I'm sure it does, and I'm sure Rebecca will get back to us.
Uh-huh.
Have the ET shown you the future?
Oh, well, yes and no. Okay, so it one time during an experience, I was taken to a part of the ship where there were, I guess you'd call it a holographic room, and I was standing there and I was seeing Earth as it is in what it is back in 1964 or something like that. So it was still beautiful and pristine. And then all of a sudden, the images start moving. They move faster and faster, and I'm seeing um, evolution changing, and I'm seeing our world changing. They're showing me all kinds of different devastation because of ecological and devastation because of war and everything like that. And then they end up on this one image where it's a burned out, but also ecological. It's like a planet that there's nobody living at anymore. It's all gray and dark. And they said, is this the planet you would like to live on? Or no, they didn't say planet. They said, is this your Earth that you'd like to live on? And I said, oh no, oh no. And so they, proceeded to somehow or other implant in my mind the different things that I needed to do to help. I not I'm not an ecologist, so I didn't go do anything. But you know, taking care of Earth, Mother Earth, is so important, and so they wanted me to know that. Um, so that would be the closest thing. I've really not had when I do my readings and things. I get information for myself or for other people, but not per se history, and not per se, knowing what is going to happen in the future. That's not me.
Okay, right.
Oh, I do
Tell,
have one. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot that. I do have one.
oh, go
Um,
on.
okay, I just remember that. I was um, young. I was young at the time, and this big, huge UFO came and was coming down to Earth. Now, all of the kids were one running towards it and very excited about it, but all of the adults were running away and were frightened by it. And I saw in that, I felt that, it is the idea of perception and the kids were not mind controlled. The kids were not programmed for fear of it. And we knew in our hearts that it was a safe place to go to. So we were running towards the ships.
Right.
Mhm.
That's really good. Um, Tell us a little bit about your missing times you've had in your life.
Okay, so that's a long, long story. So um, I do cover that in my book. But
Just
um,
just pick out some of them then. Some of your missing times.
okay, well, I mean, I've had two missing times. There were 8 month periods of missing time. Of course, that was during the MK Ultra experiences, and um, one actually I was taken out of uh, from I met somebody at a college just before classes started. I met somebody at a college. She came up, walked up to a group of us and said, "Hey, would anybody like to make a lot of money being in a dream study?" And so I went ahead and um, the next day went to the address that was given. And when I went in, there were people in lab coats. They laid me down and they said, "Now we just put you to sleep and then we watch you dream and we get an idea of what's going on in your dreams." I thought, "Oh, that can't be very hard. That's okay." So I did, and that's the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember is 8 months later. That was January. Now it's September, and I am um, waking up in a bus. And long story short, through that time, they had given me a marriage. I had was clear across the country. They had used me in beta slave and different programs. So when I got home from the bus, I called my parents. They came and picked me up and said, "We haven't seen you since the wedding." And I said, "I don't remember a wedding." They said, "Oh yes, you went to in January to the pre college meetings, and then the next thing we know, you contact us late January and say put an announcement in the paper. I'm getting married, and then we get an announcement for your wedding, or an invite for your wedding, and we that is like in February, and we come to the wedding and we don't know the guy that you're marrying. We've never met him. You just met him 2 months ago, according to what you tell us, and you're getting married to him." And my father said, "I'm not walking down the aisle." And I guess I acted like not like a person that I am. I said, "I don't care. I have friends. They're walking me down the aisle." And they gave me my wedding dress. And so, anyway, I come to find out that this whole thing had been an 8 month missing period of time where they took me into mind control. They put me in the driving program, put me to sleep, programmed me, put inputting things, did things through the whole 8 month period. And in fact, set up that wedding so that he could take me off and do whatever they wanted to do without anybody worrying about a kidnapped person. Of course, now they just traffic them, right? Now they don't care. They just traffic kids and things like that. So then that one, and then I had one a year later that was the same kind of thing, only I was taken to New York, then on to San Francisco. So other missing times are I had a missing time when I was with a group of girls. There was three other gals and myself, and we were driving up to Area 51, there was a conference there that I was speaking at. And we were driving over there, and on the way there, we had missing time completely. We were going up over a hill. That's the last thing we remember at all. The next thing we remember, we are parked in a desert area, and we don't know what happened to 2.5 hours. So that's a mess. And I did come to find out that was an abduction uh, of one person and myself. The others were just put to sleep, and we were taken on board the base. Um, so I've had other missing times as well, with that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a question from Steph. Hi, Misha. Was your near-death experience catalyst for even more ET type interactions? I only ask because I had a near-death experience at the age of 5 and started to experience things afterwards.
Well, Steph, that makes 100%. Exactly, that is true. It isn't actually that it started it or anything. It's that it started your memory of it. So a lot of times we've had experience, both our ETs, and our guardian angels, our guardian ETs are with us when we're born, and they stay with us our whole life. It's absolutely one, and sometimes more, depending upon what your mission is. So when you had your near death experience, that kind of opened your psyche, opened yourself to being more aware of what was probably happening and could have been happening from the very beginning, contact with ETs. The near death experience at age 5, and then started experiencing. So depending on whether her experiences were, um, positive, negative, hybrid, my lab, that kind of also plays a factor in here. But it can start you from the remembering. A lot of people just remember dreams of little snippets of dreams that they've had that wake them up to their experience. And I do believe that it's important that you do look at your experiences and know what's gone. Even if they're negative, you still need to cut cords, cancel contracts, and release, which is what I do with my clients, is make sure that they have the tools when they leave the hypnosis session to help themselves.
Can you tell us about the hybrids you have seen on ships?
Hmm. Yes, I'd love to. Okay, so first contact, let's see, was that the very first? Okay, so the very first contact I had was I woke up and I was in, I had seen these beings before. I was part of Ayano's group, part of his grays, which are different. They're a bit taller. Um, you can call them grays, but they're more in the lighter white skin.
Right.
And I was in a what I would call a nursery, or well, actually, I don't know what it was because everything was weird. It was like it was dark and then it was light. So what would happen is I saw first them walk up to me and hand me a baby in my two hands, hand me a baby. They had me put out my arms and they hand me this little tiny baby that was so tiny that it even hung over my hands and was just tiny. And I immediately bonded with it. And at that very moment, they showed me imagery of how they were and words, because they telepathically talk to you and they also give you images. They were very happy. They felt this is a success. And because the reason why is because they showed me other imagery about other parents that had been presented with their children or baby like that. It was all with the babies like that. And they freaked out. They didn't want to touch the baby. One man dropped a baby. Other people would walk off and say, no, I don't want anything to do with them. And so they were very happy that I bonded. And then later on, I had an experience where I saw a beautiful little blonde girl, white hair, I should say, and it was very like cotton candy, very thin, about down to here, and she was just the most beautiful, beautiful aquamarine eyes, and little pointed chin. It was just beautiful. And I had another one where I had some other ones, but the one that I want to tell you about is when I was in the nursery. Now this was after I'd been shown and presented other kids. So there's nursery, and I've seen the nursery where some kids are running around, some kids are over here playing, some kids are over here doing levitating balls and playing back and forth with that. Other kids are just kind of standing around. I don't know exactly what they're doing. The older ones and they were very, very skinny and gaunt looking, the older ones. So I said, which one's mine? And they said, they all are. There was about 15, 16, 17 kids in there from all different ages. And I said, but those older kids, are those mine? And they said telepathically, yes, they are, but we're quite concerned with them because they may not last. They're not well. So that showed me that the earlier that happens, maybe it's not as viable. Maybe if it happens in your 16, 17, 18 years, it's not as viable. Or the fact that, I was born in 1949, so maybe they hadn't really got all of the genetics things all worked out. But anyway, so that's some of the hybrid things.
Yes, thank you for that.
I even have a hybrid support group, by the way. I have
Yeah.
all for individual ones, and I have a hybrid support group that actually is next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And I know that's very late for you folks. What time is it here right now?
Well, we're 5 hours in front of you,
Oh, five.
wherever you are.
Oh, okay. So that would be 5 hours in front of me. Oh, well, that wouldn't be too late. So hopefully, maybe people can come.
Right. I know you run a targeting group.
Yeah.
Who runs that then? Is it you who runs this?
I run all my groups except for one. I have a new one I'd like to share with you. It's called the Next Generational excuse me, the Next Generational Millennial and Gen Z group. And this is ran by either a Gen Z or a millennial. And I have just trained them how to facilitate the support group so that the people can get the most um, feel the best, get the most information out of a group, and be able to feel like they can share and support uh, each other. And so that is the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Oh, right. That sounds interesting. That does. Um, Tell me about your book of the covert abductions, the military harassment, surveillance, integration, and mind control.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's it. Yes. Now that book is goes into some of my lab experiences. That's what it's all about. It's the my lab experiences, just those. And I go into uh, a particular abduction, where they tried to take me in the middle of a desert um, with what would have been paramedics, but they weren't paramedics, and it wasn't a paramedic truck. It was just a white truck that had a cross on it. Because all of a sudden I felt like I was having a heart attack, which is very much like the situation where it ended me up in the hospital. It felt like a heart attack. We pulled over the car. The girls put a blanket out, not a blanket, a sleeping bag against the tire, and I leaned up against it. And right then, after we stopped and had no sooner gotten out, and I was sitting there trying to compose myself and trying to figure out how to get through these pains, a paramedic truck shows up. Now, the odd thing about it is They come and they have uh, one has like a long white lab coat and military fatigues. The other one has a white shirt on and military fatigues. They're not even
Right.
very good at hiding what they want to do. And I told the girls, don't let them near me. And so the girls were just standing up, and they said, looks like what's wrong? Looks like you have a problem there. And they didn't rush to me. They were waiting for me to be invited. Now, is that odd for paramedics? They
That
rush,
is odd.
yeah, they rush to you. And he said, they said, um, well, what seems to be the problem? And I said, it looks like a heart attack. And I says, no, it's not a heart attack. I just had a heat stroke. It's okay. And they said, well, we better look at you. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. And then the girls, when I said to them, don't let them get to me, said, oh, she's feeling better already. And they said, well, ladies, if you don't help her and let us come and take a look at her, uh, and get her in the truck so we can take care of her, you're responsible if something happens. Which is an odd thing to say.
It
And
is an odd thing
that
to
moment,
say.
he said that, and a sheriff's truck pulls up on front of the car. And before the sheriff could even get out, they had gotten into their truck and took off, drove away. So it was a very sneaky thing. So that's one of the stories in my book, along with a lot of other
That is strange.
history. Now this is my other one, which is They Weren't Butterflies, a monarch survivor story. This one goes into from birth to, when was it? About 2000. Goes to 2000. I have and this goes into a lot of the MyLab, some of the ET experiences and things like all of the MK Ultra, or not all of these, some of the MK Ultra. So I just kind of put some information in there for people to understand uh, and explain to them what Monarch programs, what MK Ultra programs are about. So that was that book. And my third one is I'm working on is volume 3, which is going to be all of the experiences I've had, and then now in my support groups and what we've done, and how I've gone on with my mission.
Brilliant.
Mhm.
Tell me about your Oracle deck and your companion book.
I don't have a cover for it, but I do have the decks itself. So they're really pretty pictures that I put in. They're Oracle decks. They,
Yeah.
yeah, they. So I do readings to help people find out what their planets of origin are with um, my book. Doesn't look like I just have this beat up one that I have this beat up one, but it has
That's
many,
it. Yeah.
many,
I
many
understand that.
pictures in it. So Michael Actis felt it was very important because I was doing charts to help people find out what the galactic
That's neat.
origin are. And I was doing these readings for a few years, and they said that it was really important that people needed to know that there's not just grays, reptilians, and some humans, that they needed to know there was different races. So I put, with their help, within a very short 4-month period, because I had a conference I was speaking at. They wanted me to present that book at the conference, so I put together that book uh, for the conference, and it's it's really a helpful book. A lot of people are using it in their own work that they're doing, their psychic work, because you can find out what your planets of origin are, and along with the cards, you can do readings for other people, your family and friends, and find out what your mission is in the cards. So I do readings to help people find out their mission, what their experiences have been, kind of when they've started, and things like that.
Very interesting.
Hmm.
You offer galactic multi-dimensional sessions.
Yes. Now those go along with the fact that after a reading, a complete reading, I connect with my galactic, and I give a message of the galactic message and galactic light language. So light language is a it's a frequency. It's all about the energy and the frequency. So when someone speaks a light language, in my opinion, for me, what I've discovered is that we get a message afterwards from our galactics in English that comes through. And
Right.
so I will give people the light language. They may have one or two or three uh, guides of theirs that want to communicate with them and give them a message. And I go ahead and give them that message with the galactic light language. And then with, an English, a message in English.
Sounds very interesting, all this. Um, what I'm going to ask you now. Oh, the ritual, an hospital stay you had.
The ritual what?
The ritual, I think it was an hospital stay. Something happened.
The ritual,
Ritual,
yeah. Which ritual? I've had
hospital
several.
stay you had. Something happened in the hospital.
Oh, in the hospital.
Mm.
Oh. Well, no. What happened in the hospital was really a great thing. That was when I got visited by the Galactics angels. That was a near death experience. N- Oh, but the only thing I can think of. You're talking about a ritual was when I was a child. I was, my father was my, shall we say, trauma based mind control handler. And the reason he was because he was trauma based, mind controlled and handled as well. So an alter of him was the one that was doing the trauma torture kinds of things with me to teach me how to leave my body. So your a child's psyche gets split, and then now the MK Ultra program can take and make alters. They split, compartmentalize the brain. Let's say the brain's in compartmentalized, and these are all rooms. And then every room that they compartmentalize, they have now developed an alter, a personality. It can be a male, a female. It can be somebody who's allergic to something that's different than you. It can be all kinds of, one can be a singer, one cannot. There's just all kinds of different things. Okay. So what they use, and then they, of course, program all those altars to do their bidding. So when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would be taken for weekends to go see my grandmother. But my grandmother lived on Asylum Lane, which is where the hospital was, a psychiatric hospital. And I would be taken to the basement with other kids, and that's where most of the programming would happen. And then they would promptly do something to put a screen memory in, or a false memory, not a screen, but a false memory in, and then send me back home. So it was before I went to school. I'd stay with grandma for a few weeks at a time sometimes, because my mother had um, a lot of kids. And so um, that was really, there's rituals going on there. So that's probably what happened. And then at age 9, I was put into the programs and used much more. And so that's where some rituals occurred. Um, so I think that's probably what would be the best
I think it
information.
is. Yeah, yeah. Um, where can people get your books?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Where can people get your books?
Oh, my books. Oh, okay. Well, from England, I would suggest that you get them on Amazon. You can get them on books. You can get a book sent to you at Amazon, or you can get Kindle. The one both of these books are on Kindle, and the I'm not sure if my other one is on Kindle. I think they might all be on Kindle as well. I'm hoping to do at some point an ebook as well, or whatever that's called, where they a
Yeah,
speaking
ebooks. Then they call them ebooks,
when they speak about when they it's
like an
audio.
audio.
Yeah. At some point, I want to get an audio book. I don't know how to go about doing that, but that's what I'd like to. Maybe on my last volume, I might do an audio book. You can also get my cards through Amazon. My ET Experiencer cards are out of print right now because it's a lot of money with this publisher to get cards.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's a lot of money. So right now they're on back order kind of thing. But my unmanageable cards, they're still available, and they are available through Amazon.
thank you for that. Well, so what you got planned for the future?
Well, of course, my support groups. I'd like to just tell you a couple of things about them. So
Yes, please.
I have many different topics with each group. So, for instance, my group on Wednesday I have a Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Sunday is at 12 o'clock, so I really invite any of your listeners to come to that. Might work out better on the timing for it being Pacific Standard Time versus your time. So those are mixed groups. You can talk about anything and everything you want. They're 3 hour groups. Then I have 2 hour groups on Wednesday and Thursday. Like Wednesday had a galactic light language and automatic writing and channeling group so that we interact and I help you connect with your galactics so that you get that really wonderful one-on-one connection with them so that you can call on them because galactics are there but they do not interfere in your life. So if you want help from them, you have to contact them. So that's I help the people learn how to do that. And then I have on Thursday I had an ET experiencer of all different types of ET experiences. Then I have next week I have the hybrid group, and then I have a veterans PTSD book group. Veterans and military. There's an aspect that they're used in the My Lab and Secret Space programs. So we have that group, and that also goes into Secret Space program. And then on the next one, I have I have a SRA group. So it goes into the rituals and the MK Ultra and the Monarch program and the Montauk program. And then I have another group that's that is the third one. Yeah, that's the third Thursday. And that is a new beginning group with family members and come in and talk about your experiences, the ET experience, your contact. Even Mila, we don't care, but I invite families to come to that one. And then the last week, which is usually because if I have more groups, if there's the 5 Wednesdays and Thursdays, but mostly it's only 4 weeks that I have. So then I have the targeted group, which we talk about all the targeting things and everything. And that is on a Wednesday. And then Thursday, I have the new generation, next generational millennial and Gen Z support group ran by a Gen Z or millennial. So very busy. It is my
You are
mission.
very busy.
It is my
Every
love.
night, daily.
And I do have my
Before
hypnosis
sleeping.
sessions in between that. So I would like to tell you that I specialize in hypnosis, past life regression, which it isn't really past life. It's going on simultaneously. That's why when you get into your theta states and your alpha states, you can easily tap into your parallel lives that are going on simultaneously.
Right.
You also, in that case, find out what it is in those lifetimes, how powerful you were, that you were an amazing healer or psychic or different things like that. And that's why we are part of the mission here on planet Earth. That's why we're here, is because we are really amazing beings that are having this human existence to raise the consciousness and help this planet Earth, planet Gaia, raise and go into the next, new Earth. So that's a very important. Let me see. And also a very important part of hypnosis is, cutting cords, canceling contracts. So I do that within the trauma release or trauma recovery hypnosis. So if people had trauma in their childhood, trauma, maybe they've been part of Secret Space Program or MK Ultra, we work on those things, cutting cords, canceling contracts, and healing and releasing. Because if you go into a hypnosis session, you bring it up and you bring it back, and then you're going to have to deal with it by yourself. I want to help you clear it, release it, and get rid of it. And then I work with ADD, ADHD, and hypnosis. I'm also certified in all of those, as well as PTSD. So that's a very big part of my experiences as well.
Well, thank you so much.
I guess you also wanted to know really quickly. I'll tell you what I'm up to as well as far as speaking. I wish I'd be
Yeah.
speaking in UK. I'd love to. If somebody ever invited me, I'd love to come. But on April 4th and through the 6th, I'm going to be in Burlingame, California for the UFO Con. And I believe the UFO Con is just the website is called, what's it called? I think it's UFOcon.com, or it might be, not positively sure. Yeah, UFO. But if you put Burlingame, you can find it.
Right.
Also, that's going, and then I'm also going to be on July, I'm going to be at the Full Disclosure, and that's in St. Pete's, Florida. That is 15th through the 18th, and in July, 15th through the 18th. And I'll be speaking there. And with both these conferences, I also offer, while I'm there, doing the lecture and the presentation, I also have support groups for people and
Right.
provide that. And sometimes night vision tours. Just real quick, I do night vision tours. If you ever come here from Europe and you'd like to go to a night vision tour, contact me through my website. UFO, I'll give you the starseedawakening.org, but on there is a part that is the UFO night vision tours. So they can go there and come and go to my tours where I take people out with night vision goggles and we look at UFOs and the stars and the
Oh,
planets.
brilliant.
It's really cool.
Sounds
Yeah.
sounds wonderful, Misha.
Yeah. I always do that at my conferences too. Is
Oh,
I do.
brilliant. I
Mhm.
know we do over here as well. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I
Thank
won't leave
you.
it too long next time.
What was
I
that?
won't leave it too long next time for you
Oh,
to come
okay,
back on
okay.
again.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, once I get my book out and such, I can tell you a little bit more about that book that I'm about halfway through. So, thank you so much for having me, Bob, and thank